Mhm. Hey guys, we're live. Just give us a second right here to get things situated real quick. Um,
Yeah, we got a few topics to discuss today.
yeah, there's actually a lot of news, including some breaking news about on the Stormy Daniels front.
Stormy Daniels strikes again.
Anyway, let's start off with what happened. What we heard this morning about Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, came out and pretty much verified that he paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 without. Well, he didn't say without Trump knowing, but the money came from himself.
Well, he basically said that he wasn't paid by Trump. It was his own money that paid the $130 to Stormy Daniels to keep quiet before the election about her sexual encounters with Donald Trump.
And basically, what this did is two things. Number one, many legal scholars believe that Michael Cohen broke the law in doing so. Usually, attorneys aren't supposed to get that close to their clients. They're not supposed to lend them money. They're not supposed to pay their fees, pay their bills. So that in itself is a major hiccup on Michael Cohen's part. But now we just learned that Stormy Daniels has said that by Michael Cohen admitting that there was an agreement, that actually breaches the contract, the non-disclosure agreement and contract that they had, meaning that she can now come public with whatever information she's been sitting on. Whether she's going to come public with this information or not, we don't know. But right now, it appears that things might get a little bit interesting.
What I find interesting is, what if she just decided to break the contract without Michael Cohen first breaking it? In doing so, wouldn't Trump need to admit that she's telling the truth in order for that $130,000 to be returned to him?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think she could have breached the contract herself, and I doubt anything would have happened. I mean,
well, if she breached the contract and Trump wanted to come after her for breaching that contract, he would basically have to admit that he had a sexual encounter with her, or that what she's saying is true.
well, not only that, but what's $130,000 for Trump? Why is he gonna admit this for $130,000? He'd probably have to let it come out and go, unless he really wanted to get her, I guess. But
Yeah, I agree. So for those that are just joining us, the big breaking news, if you can call it that, is that Stormy Daniels claims that Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, breached their contract, essentially the non-disclosure agreement that Stormy Daniels had with Cohen, which said that she couldn't talk about her. Well, we don't know exactly what the NDA said, but we assume that it was something to do with her sexual encounter with Donald Trump. And she says that Cohen breached this contract, so she now has the right to talk about it. So things should get really interesting. I wonder if she has any hard evidence that shows that she actually did have a sexual encounter with Trump, or if it's just going to be hearsay.
well, and it's not just a sexual encounter. It's the fact that she was paid for this, which would be against the law, be illegal. It'd be direct evidence of a crime by Trump. Now, whether the statute of limitations would cover that or not, I doubt it would, and I bet there wouldn't be any repercussions legally for Trump. But
It makes him look bad in the eyes of his base, but then again, his base seems to attach to him no matter what he does. So I don't know if this would even affect his polls. Do you think so?
I don't know.
The women vote's already down to 29%. That any woman that's still supportive of this monster, in my opinion, nothing's going to change their mind.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next week or two. I haven't seen many legal scholars weigh in on if, in fact, this would be a breach of contract and what it would mean. But right now, it looks like some interesting information might be coming out over the course of the next couple of weeks.
It's funny, all that was made about Bill Clinton and his sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. The right basically demolished him, and now this, and it's like nobody cares.
And this isn't even the most important news or most important things we should be talking about. I mean, meanwhile, there's a major investigation into his possible likely collusion with Russia, and this is ultimately going to be just a distraction, which he might even like. He might even prefer that because the attention's off of Trump Russia and it's on Trump Stormy Daniels.
Oh, it's not off of Trump Russia. Not in Mueller's eyes or many of the Senate Democrats and House Democrats. They're still focused on that. But the Stormy Daniels thing definitely is going to take some attention away from the Russia investigation as far as the public goes. I don't think it's going to really change anything as far as...
No, it's not going to hurt the investigation, but from the public standpoint, it's going to take their attention off of that, and Trump wants that right now, I'm sure. What else? What else is today?
There's several other breaking news coming out surrounding Trump today, including Mitt Romney, who is expected, or it's pretty much confirmed, that he will officially announce that he's running for a Senate seat, the Senate seat that Orrin Hatch currently has in the state of Utah. That's sort of big news, especially for Trump, considering Romney's stood up against Trump a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not good news for Trump because that seat probably is going to be won by a Republican anyway, so it wasn't like there was a good chance a Democrat was going to win it anyway, so he wants the best Republican that could possibly be running for that seat. And
it's definitely not Romney, not in Trump's eyes. And I saw a poll, I think it was like 64% favor Romney over the Democrat in Utah, and I expect Romney to win. He's well known in Utah, and a lot of people like him there.
Some other news is that Adam Schiff has come out this morning and stated that the Democrats in the House will not be changing the Democratic memo that they originally approved and sent to Trump. He said that they will be allowing for redactments if the FBI recommends anything, but they're not going to be changing anything.
What I saw was that Trump actually contacted the FBI and asked them for major redactments. What that means, we don't know, but it should be interesting.
It's probably information he just doesn't like, rather information that's actually classified.
I think that's what Schiff kind of said. He said that basically what the White House wants is anything redacted that makes the White House look bad, which I'm sure is the majority of the Democratic memo.
Another thing that Adam Schiff said today was that there is clear evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Whether or not he is charged with a crime via that will rely on Mueller's investigation and whether they can prove it. But that's kind of a damning
That's interesting
statement.
Because the rest of the House Intel Committee saw that too, or saw the evidence that he's seen.
Yeah, Adam Schiff's the chairman, not the chairman. He's the leading Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. So anything he says should be weighed heavily. The fact that he's saying that there's clear evidence of collusion should quiet some of the skeptics. But
we have to remember that collusion's not a crime.
No,
basically the charge could be conspiracy against the United States.
It could be any number of crimes. Whether it was a cyber crime in that they shared information with hackers, or they helped hack a server, or they took that information that was hacked and then used it for reasons that are not legal. Then you have that angle. There could also be a racketeering case in that this whole group of individuals within the campaign worked with a hostile power in order to tilt the election into
racketeering would basically be a massive conspiracy. They could charge him with RICO acts, and that would be a major crime, and that could basically put Trump in the same boat as many of the Russians that were working against the United States.
Yeah, as we explained yesterday or whenever our last live feed was, A racketeering charge basically would charge every individual in that case. So if there's 30 individuals charged in a racketeering case, each one of those individuals is responsible for every crime committed by each one of them. So if the worst crime committed by any of those 30 individuals can be charged to each one of those 30 individuals, which is major if that's
it's major. But usually when it comes to sentencing,
the
people who actually took part in the most severe acts do get a larger penalty. Usually that's how it works.
The judge is more lenient on those he feels didn't partake in as much of the crime.
Yeah, and like one of the commenters says, in RICO cases, the government can take your money. They can basically do a forfeiture and hold your money until things move along. And that would be devastating to Trump and his properties if something like that were to happen.
Absolutely.
There's talk that could also happen in the state of New York, where their Attorney General, Eric Snyderman, there is working alongside Robert Mueller in order to investigate if there could be possible state crimes. And if there's state crimes are not pardonable. So Trump couldn't pardon himself or Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump or whoever else took part in those crimes. So things can get interesting there as well.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a backup plan if Trump does decide. For instance, if Robert Mueller indicts Donald Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner on any number of crimes, the president could immediately pardon them and basically throw that out of the window. But if there's a backup plan in which the state of New York would charge him with additional crimes, then he can't really do much about it. Trump can't do much about it. And that's kind of what it seems like it's happening, but we're not 100% certain exactly which direction that's going to go in yet.
Yeah. So again, if you want to make any comments or ask any questions, you can tweet us and use the hashtag Krassenstein Live. And I'm going to read through some of these comments right here, right now. And also, we see your comments on the side here, but they move so fast that we might miss them. So if you really want to leave a comment, use the hashtag Krassenstein Live on Twitter. I think most of you guys are on Twitter.
So something I wanted to point out was last night, I don't know if any of you guys saw it or not, but yesterday morning there was an individual named Todd McGregor. He claimed to be a PhD, a data scientist, and he made a post saying that Ed and I are actually robots on Twitter. And soon after that post was made, CNN's Chris Cuomo retweeted it, basically saying that
robots.
Don't give it away, Eddie. Don't give it away. Don't give it away. So anyway, Chris Cuomo basically retweeted this, and now people thought we were bots. We're not bots. We're real people. We're real people.
At least we think we are. I mean, I guess it's possible we could be robots, and our intelligence is so great that we
developed a conscience, and now we think that we're human. But anyway, that wasn't true. I contacted Dr. McGregor for further information, and he blocked me on Twitter without any explanation. So I'm guessing that maybe Dr. McGregor was a bot or had some poor intentions. As for Chris Cuomo, I did reach out to him. I haven't heard back. It didn't affect us too much. We didn't lose followers or anything. That tweet is no longer available because Dr. McGregor pretty much blocked everyone from viewing his tweets. So
no big deal. All right, let's see. There's a lot of Krassenstein Live hashtags coming in, so I'm going to read through some of these. Sometimes I start reading them and I realize I shouldn't be reading them, so I apologize if I read something that I shouldn't. Krassenstein Live, great to see you guys. The payoff confirmation is essentially an administration of crooked Trump having an affair with a porn star. Bill Clinton was impeached for much less. Why aren't there more people up in arms? Well, Bill Clinton was impeached that was more about lying under oath, although it did come back to the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. And I agree, there seems to be a double standard here. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I think one of the reasons people aren't up in arms is probably because there's so much going on. It seems like every day there's another scandal and nobody can latch on to one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with Clinton, that was the scandal. And with Trump, there's a scandal here, a scandal here, a scandal here. Tomorrow there's 3 more scandals. So you just can't. The media, nobody can really focus on one scandal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's see here. How much do you think there is to Michael Cohen's statement that he paid Stormy Daniels out of pocket and of his own volition?
I don't believe it. I'll tell you why.
Well, okay, here, if he did pay out of his own pocket, wouldn't you think that he's getting some payment in return? He's not going to do it for nothing. I mean...
Well, I mean, who's to say he doesn't pay out of his own pocket $130,000 and then next week charge the president $300,000 for fees he would normally charge $170,000 for?
Well, that was actually a point brought up by Seth Abramson on Twitter this morning. He actually had some payments that Trump made, and there was actually a payment made for $130,000. It was titled rent, but
it'll be interesting to go back and look to see if he paid any other $130,000 rent payments.
Yeah, well, it didn't. It didn't match the rent payments, and that's what Seth Abramson was questioning. It's pretty interesting. If you don't follow Seth on Twitter, you really should. His handle is @Seth Abramson, and he basically published an image of, what would you call this, a ledger? And this ledger shows that on December 21st, 2016, there was a payment by Donald Trump for president to Trump Tower Commercial LLC in the amount of $130,000, $130,888.33, and it's titled rent. Whereas the following months, the rent is in the amount of $169,758.33 every month after that, except for November, which is the month previous, the rent was double, which makes you think that he doubled up on the rent in November and then paid the $130,000.
And this is actually the exact time frame that you would expect this payment to be made, based off of other stories we've read. It was right before the election that this took place. So November of 2016 is actually when Michael Cohen would have paid this sum of $130,000.
Well, it's obvious looking at this. So basically, in July, rent $169,000. August $169,000. September $169,000. October $169,000. November $169,000. Then you hit November, and you're paying $283,000,
which is $114,000 more.
And then in December, you're paying $130,000. It would seem to make sense that was the payment for Stormy Daniels, but I mean, we don't know. It's tight. They put it in the ledger as rent. So
and another thing is, Michael Cohen's wealthy, but he's not overly wealthy. He's not going to just. I cannot see him just throwing $130,000 at the wind to protect his client, Donald Trump. Michael Cohen's net worth is about $10 million, so he is wealthy. But $130,000 is $130,000, and if you believe that he's just going to help his client out by spending that amount of money when he knows it's not kosher per se from a legal standpoint, that's kind of.
Yeah, but kind of then again, this is a guy who the dossier claims to have been in Prague for a meeting with the Russians, and he says he's never been to Prague. And now that all these lies that Cohen's telling now, it makes you wonder, okay, then there's a good chance he could be lying about the dossier allegations as well.
Yeah, going back to that, it was concluded that the passport he had, BuzzFeed did confirm that the passport he had was not stamped in the Czech Republic. There could be several reasons for this.
Well, there could be several passports as well.
That's the main reason. Paul Manafort had 3 passports when he was arrested, so it wouldn't surprise me he had multiple passports. The other theory I heard was that he could have traveled to France and then taken a train. Ground travel within Europe is not actually a passport stamping event, but it was confirmed, I think, by BuzzFeed that he wasn't in Europe at the time, based off of that one passport. Somebody just said, "Isn't Cohen breaking the law by paying anything?" That's kind of to be debated. It would seem that those actions are not only breaking the law, but
it would break the contract.
It could break the law, but it could also break the law. Trump might be breaking the law. If you remember John Edwards, this happened years ago. He was a Democratic, one of the Democrats running for president. John Kerry got the nomination, but he was one of the top Democrats in 2004, I believe. Anyway, John Edwards, he had an associate pay somebody in order to cover up an affair that he had. And he was actually indicted and charged with multiple crimes because of that. Eventually, it was a hung jury, or the jury couldn't come to a conclusion, and he got off on the charges, and the government did not retry.
It seems like there's so many crimes that Trump could get indicted for.
You would think, based on everything we know, that Mueller's probably having a field day with this, as sad as that seems.
So for those that don't know, there is an active shooter in Parkland, Florida, outside of the school, I believe. I'm seeing a lot of comments about that. And there's a comment on Twitter from Frycat who says, "A school shooting occurs each day in NRA's America. When will it stop?" And, it seems like they've been picking up. I don't remember this many in the years past, do you?
No, well, it's a fact that there hasn't been this many. And the problem is that the party in power seems to just offer thoughts and prayers, and thoughts and prayers aren't going to get your loved ones back.
I understand the Second Amendment, and I'm not going to go as far as saying Americans shouldn't be able to own guns.
No, absolutely not.
But I think there's regulation that needs to be done. Why does anybody need to have an assault weapon? The right to bear arms doesn't mean you can have any arms you choose. People can't go out and own bazookas and
rocket propelled grenades.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be some sort of limit. And when this law was written, the guns that were being used then were
muskets,
which you could fire a shot per minute or something along those lines.
Like 2 minutes, a shot every 2 minutes.
We have to progress. We can't just use ancient laws in order to govern our society today. And there's no reason why just anybody should be able to go out and get an assault weapon.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And until there's legislation on this, it's just going to keep on happening. Until there are new laws, even just small laws that are going to maybe better background checks, or don't let insane people have guns.
Yeah. Well, it's a debate that's always going to go back and forth. But you look at all the countries who do have strict gun laws, and their deadly crime rate is way, way, way lower than ours.
Yeah, and this is the United States. The Constitution says we have the right to bear arms. You're not going to get rid of guns. Nobody on the Democrat side is saying that they want to get rid of all guns, and that's just stupid. You think that's the case, but there's sensible legislation that can prevent things like this from happening. It's not going to stop all these attacks, but it's going to stop some of them. And if it saves 1 or 2 lives, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's not going to go in there with a musket and shoot 100 people in a matter of 3 minutes. It's just, there is a way to control this while still adhering to the Second Amendment. You can adhere to the Second Amendment, but still ban certain guns. That's not against the Second Amendment. It's just crazy to even think that. But that's what Second Amendment supporters kind of go towards.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully this turns out okay. We can't really follow it too much live right now, but hopefully there's not any deaths or injuries.
Sure. Here's another comment from Tracy L. Vaughn, and she says, "I am an Army girl. If you need an assault rifle to hunt, you are safer shopping at Price Chopper, particularly if you are allergic to lead." Interesting comment. So, and then there's Farhad Syed says, "So Stormy can talk now because I'm getting my popcorn ready." Yeah. Well, we don't know if Stormy can talk.
She claims
Her lawyers say she can because Michael Cohen broke the NDA. I guess if she talked, it would be up to Trump's side to take her to court to say she can't talk. A court would have to ultimately decide if she has that right or not.
Yeah.
But either way, I think she's going to make more than $130,000 by writing a book or giving tours. I just saw she's in Tampa giving a tour. Like, she's jumping from place to place giving tours. I'm sure she's going to make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah. Somebody said, how can you say BuzzFeed's a legitimate news source? I can't say they're not. Just because they published a dossier, which has been almost a good percentage of it's verified.
Well, something's really bothering me about the whole BuzzFeed dossier story. Michael Cohen, I believe, and one of the Russians mentioned in the dossier are trying to sue BuzzFeed for libel, saying that they're responsible for publishing that dossier, but that's not how the First Amendment works in the United States. And I would think
if they wrote the dossier, then they can be sued, but they're just publishing a third-party
document.
Dossier.
And Michael Cohen should know this. I don't know if it's just a publicity stunt or what.
Political theater or whatever it is. But meanwhile, BuzzFeed has hired ex-FBI agents to actually investigate the dossier further, just so that they can defend themselves in court. And it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with. They're trying to prove that the dossier is the facts and the claims in the dossier are factual. And that's probably going to lead to some more interesting tidbits of news coming out over the next month.
I'm interested to see what they find and what they release. I think they had initially started this investigation as a way to protect against the suit being brought by the Russian individual and Michael Cohen, but I think it's also going to make for some great stories if they do confirm some of the allegations in the dossier.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see, what else is there in the news? We had the consumer price index this morning showed that inflation is actually increasing faster than economists had initially thought. This combined with retail prices have not retail prices, but retail sales have dropped in the last month. So the economy is not looking as spectacular as the president has been building it up to be. When you have
for those who don't know, the consumer price index is basically the price for stuff, what the price you're paying for things. So if wages are going up, but the consumer price index is also going up, you're not actually making more money because the things you're buying are costing you more.
Yeah.
So it's inflation. We're seeing inflation at a rate faster than it should be going. It went up 0.5 percentage point in a month.
Yeah,
that's very significant because typically you like seeing around 2% inflation rate for an entire year. So it should be interesting to see how this progresses and if this becomes a major problem. Inflation's not good for an economy, and it's certainly not good for Trump if he wants to help the economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically that's going to force the Fed to raise interest rates. And once interest rates raise, the stock market usually drops because people put their money in bonds. And then the economy starts sinking as well. The Fed usually wants an inflation rate of 2%. So a 0.5% in 1 month, this is annual inflation rate of 2%. So 0.5% in 1 month shows that inflation is a little bit ahead of schedule right now. And in order to combat that, they will raise rates.
We should be using contractionary fiscal policy to slow the economy down a little bit because it's overinflating itself. But instead, Trump is using expansionary fiscal policy via the tax cuts and government spending and increasing the national debt. So that's not good for the economy. So what else do we have in the news today? My computer just restarted, so I need to wait for that to restart before I check out the hashtag Krassenstein Live. If you guys have any questions or comments, tweet at us with the hashtag Krassenstein Live, and I'll get to that. I'll get to those in just 1 minute. I'm restarting my computer.
Yeah, we mentioned before Adam Schiff actually said that there's an abundance of evidence pointing to Trump collusion with Russia. So that's a very damning statement. Schiff is the top Democrat in the House Intel. Normal. So Schiff is a top Democrat in the House House Intel Committee. One at the end. Sorry about that. So what he says is pretty that's a pretty bad statement.
Yeah, but of
Trump's
course
part.
the Republicans in the House are going to be saying that's a nothing burger. You know, it's they just cover for Trump.
Yeah.
There was yesterday there was a house seat flipped. It was a state house seat in Florida in a majorly Trump won district. Her name's Good. Would you remember her first name?
Margaret, was it?
Margaret Good, I believe. And she flipped the seat, so it's another red seat going blue, which is good news.
Yeah, and it was somewhat surprising because I believe that Trump actually won by 16 points in that district in 2000. Was it Trump? I think Trump won by 16 points in that district
I believe so.
in 2016. So she won by 7 or 8 points. So that's a huge turn towards the Democrats, and it's certainly good news going into 2018. But that doesn't mean that you guys should not vote because we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's important to make sure that you are registered to vote because a lot of people who have voted previously might not be registered anymore. So that's a major thing. I still can't get into this. Tried everything possible.
Let's see some more Krassenstein Live hashtags.
You got it? Okay.
What do you guys think about Republican gains in a generic congressional polling? Yeah, today a new poll came out. I forget what poll it was, but it showed that Democrats lead Republicans by 6 points in a generic poll. This was actually up from, I think it was 8 or 9 points just last month. So Republicans are gaining there. Democrats still have the lead, but it's certainly not good news. We want that number to be going the other way, especially if you want Trump impeached or you think Trump should be impeached, because the Republicans aren't going to be doing that on their own. Let's see. Did you cover Melania's dad? Did I miss it with this school shooting?
We haven't actually covered Melania's dad, but that is another story that came out today, and it basically was a story. I don't remember exactly who it was published by, but it touched on Melania's parents, who are both immigrants from Slovenia, and her father apparently was a representative of the Slovenian Communist Party.
Yugoslavian Communist Party. The main story was that the White House is refusing to release the immigration status of both of her parents. They're not saying why they won't release it, only that they don't comment on people that aren't involved in the White House.
And I kind of feel like I'm with the White House on this. I don't think it's their responsibility, or I don't think I don't think they should be invading upon Melania's parents. Just because their daughter is in the White House. I mean,
it would be interesting to know, especially since the president is so anti-immigrant and wants to cut out families of immigrants coming here. So it's kind of like what is it?
And Melania actually earned her citizenship legitimately, and it wasn't from marrying President Donald Trump.
She might have been in the country illegally.
There are some questions about when she earned her money through some modeling contracts. Apparently, they happened before she was supposed to be working, so there's some debate about that. But I don't know. I don't think there should be that large of a deal made about this. There's other things to worry about.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, if you guys have any questions, use the Krassenstein Live hashtag, and we will try to answer them the best we can. I'll post the hashtag just in case you don't know how to spell our last name here. Can't. Well, it's giving me a hard time posting right now. But Krassenstein Live. we'll try to answer your question. We're looking at the sidebar too, but it's going so fast and it kind of distracts us. Here's another question. It's kind of something we need to hot topic if we are going to have to listen to him beat the issue of chain migration, and that's referring to Melania Trump's parents. And I don't disagree with you. I just think that some people deserve their privacy. They didn't come here. They didn't run for president, and I'm sure it's eventually going to come out. But
yeah, that's definitely true. I think the speaking of immigration, I think the Senate's actually voting on a new deal for Dreamers this afternoon. Supposedly it's not going to touch on the visa lottery, but it will be concerning Dreamers and giving them a chance to earn citizenship. So that's good. I just hope the deal doesn't involve giving Trump his wall, which I have a feeling it will.
I don't think the president's going to sign off on anything unless it includes funding for his wall. He wants, I think, $25 billion. This is something that he's been pretty insistent about, and I think that any plan for DACA that doesn't include funding for the wall isn't going to be signed off.
I agree. Would you like to retweet the?
No, I did.
Okay, so I'm gonna examine some more of these Krassenstein Live hashtags right now. I know we've had some coming in.
Will a clean DACA bill get to Trump's desk? I think that it will.
It's going to get to his desk, but the chances that he approves it, I say, are like 50-50 right now, and I just can't see him. I just don't see him approving one. I really don't.
He's only going to approve one if it includes the wall, funding for the wall, and right now I don't know if Democrats are going to do that or not. I don't know if Democrats are going to provide him $25 billion for the wall.
I wish Democrats would put a stipulation in there to get some of his to basically bargain with him on some other key points in order to give him the wall.
Perhaps the sanctions against Russia.
Yeah, Russian sanctions. Okay, if you impose the Russian sanctions, we'll give you the wall. But Trump wouldn't sign that because he's against implementing the Russian sanctions. And it was like what, a 435 or 433 to 2 vote, something crazy, in favor of implementing Russian sanctions between the House and the Senate. Yet Trump has not done anything. He hasn't even given an explanation as to why he's not implementing the sanctions. And Congress should be pushing him harder on this. And I don't know why they're not. You don't see any Republicans pushing him on this, other than maybe John McCain.
And even Democrats are definitely pushing him on it, but not as hard as they should be. This is big. This is the biggest attack we've had since 9/11 on the United States. And there weren't deaths, but it undermined our democracy and the faith in our country. And the fact that the president isn't punishing them for doing that, or even acknowledging that it was them that did it. In fact, Vice President Mike Pence today, he said that, let me bring this up. Mike Pence said, irrespective of efforts that were made in 2016 by foreign powers, it is the universal conclusion of our intelligence communities that none of those efforts had any impact on the outcome of the 2016 election. And that is absolutely false. Not one intelligence agency has said that there has been no impact on the election.
Well, in fact, I watched the Senate Intel Committee interviews with all the heads of the intelligence agencies, including Christopher Wray, Dan Coates, and
Mike Rogers,
Mike Pompeo, and one of the senators, I think it was maybe it was Warner, I'm not sure, but one of them asked every single one of them, has the president contacted you and asked you to do anything about Russia interfering in the 2018 elections? And every single one of them said, no, he has not. And every single one of them also said that Russia will interfere in the 2018 elections.
And the fact that the vice president today told Axios that our intel agency said that it did not affect the outcome of the election, that's just pathetic. Now, when Trump is impeached, and if God forbid Mike Pence becomes president in 2020 when he has to run again for a second term, I guarantee you that will be brought up, and it's going to make him look like an idiot.
Well, I'd like him to. I'd like him to say who actually told him that Russia didn't influence the election, because
Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, who in the intel agencies told him that? Isn't that what he said? And the intel agency said that they cannot. Yep. So I'd like him to inform us who told him that, because I guarantee you that Christopher Wray and Dan Coates and Mike Pompeo and Mike Rogers are all going to they've all said that Russia influenced the elections. So, it's difficult to even listen to him.
Somebody just commented that Russia was just a smokescreen invented by Psycho Hillary. Now, I don't know if you're actually being serious or sarcastic, but if you're being serious, I don't know that word.
Paying attention to that. Here's another tweet using the hashtag Krassenstein Live. The GOP is not going to do anything based on their recent stance on the issue of the Russians. So we need to look at other solutions. What do you guys recommend for the midterms?
Vote Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything else. Nothing we can do as far as stopping the Russians. Just being members of the public. Hopefully the intel agencies are doing all they can in order to stop them.
Yeah.
And hopefully Facebook and Twitter to come up with some sort of solution. I know it's going to be hard, but hopefully they can do something.
And usually I would never tell anybody to just go down the line and vote all their party or all Democrat. But in this case, if you want action on Russia and action on Trump and possibly impeaching Trump, that's probably the best way. That's your best solution, at least in Congress and the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree there to a certain extent. I don't like telling people to just go right down the line, because sometimes there's candidates that they might feel best suited, but it's one of those things.
What else? Do we have any more questions here?
I don't see too much here on Twitter. Use hashtag Krassenstein Live if you want to tweet to us. There's another story I saw yesterday. I forget, it was somebody with CNN, I believe. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they basically came out and said that even if Trump tries to fire Rod Rosenstein or Robert Mueller, the courts could overturn that, and that would be interesting to see. So that's some hope. Even if Trump tries to fire them to stop the investigation, the federal courts could actually overturn Trump's decision and put Mueller back in control. So things could get interesting, and this might be a deterrence for Trump too, if his legal team realizes this as well.
Yeah, the courts have been kind of the saving grace here for our democracy. Actually, yesterday, a court in Brooklyn pretty much stated that DACA recipients you cannot remove the benefits to DACA recipients.
It's going to ultimately end up in the Supreme Court, but the New York court said that basically that Trump's decision on DACA is not a legal one. And it's funny because everybody says, "Oh, Obama let all these people in the country illegally through DACA." If it was illegal, why didn't anybody take it up with the courts and let them decide? Because it's not illegal.
And another thing that kind of has me interested is I heard that one of the routes to get the Russian sanctions implemented could be to actually sue the president and say that he signed this into law, and by not implementing the sanctions, he's breaking the law, and that could perhaps go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's just who would actually do that. We need a group to come forward
I'm not
and
sure.
Pay for the legal fees and.
Well, I mean, I could see
ACLU or
something. I'm not sure exactly what the logistics of that would be, but that's one of the ways that we could possibly get the sanctions implemented, since it doesn't seem like the president's doing it. But that will take months or years, and we don't have that. 2018 elections are in 9 months.
Yeah, it's a scary thought that elections are coming up pretty quickly. it's scary. The primaries are in August, and then
Well, and here's the thing: no matter what happens, whether it's a Democratic wave or not, I think that the Russians are going to play both sides, and if Democrats win, they're gonna try and plant evidence or make it appear that they may have helped Democrats.
Yeah,
and then the Republicans can use that against them.
I could see that as well.
And that's almost scarier than them actually influencing the election again, because it just totally destroys confidence in the elections.
Yeah, well, if Democrats win more seats in the House and actually reclaim the House, Russia might actually make it appear as though they interfered, at least to a lower degree, and then the Trump administration and the far right's going to be pushing this story to try and discredit the Democrats who actually win their seats, which is scary, and it's sad that that's what things have come to.
Yeah, here we go. Here's another question. Isn't Mike Pence illegitimate as vice president? We know Putin and the Kremlin hackers put Trump in the White House, which makes him illegitimate. And so in my opinion, Pence, Gorsuch, and others are also as illegitimate as the fraud president in the White House. Am I wrong? We don't know the facts yet, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions. If in fact everything you said is true, and that Putin and the Kremlin put Trump in the White House and helped him win the election, then yes, every person he appointed would be illegitimate. We don't know the facts right at this point. We don't know if Trump would have lost without Russia's help. So I can't really speak to that.
I think he would have, but we can't say for sure.
Yeah, I just think it's a little too early to come to such a conclusion before we know all the facts. The last thing I want to do is be preaching conspiracy theories or what could be taken as conspiracy theories and used against us.
Yeah, I agree. Here's another interesting question from Quincy Claiborne. He says, many of us are relatively new to Twitter and notice your insight, knowledge, impact, and influence is widespread. How did you two get to this point? What's your history, background? Maybe too difficult to address here, but many of us would like to know. Our history and background, we basically got on Twitter and started doing this, what was it, right around inauguration?
It was actually right before the election, I believe. I think maybe October.
So we just got started, and we ended up just giving our feedback, our opinions, and we ended up responding to President Trump on Twitter, and eventually we got a big following. I think it was just because our tweets started showing up close to the top on Trump's feed, and people liked what we had to say, so they started following us. There's obviously a lot of people who are against Trump and anti-Trump, so I think that helped significantly. We also were running a news site at the time, ir.net, where we would write articles on the presidency and whatnot, and that helped us gain some followers as well. Previous to that, we were actually we've run several businesses. The last one we ran was a 3D printing business, 3D printing news business. We covered the news on the additive manufacturing industry, and we actually sold that business, I think it was 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago. And we ran forums for virtual reality, for all sorts of things.
Yeah, over the past 15 years or so, we've actually run dozens and dozens of websites, mostly discussion forums.
Nothing related to politics at all, so we don't really have a political background. It's just that we kind of got so frustrated with what was going on that it kind of became an interest of ours.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were the same. I think a lot of people got interested in politics after Trump was elected just because they feel they need to be interested in politics. They want to be interested in politics.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
I think one of the main groups of people who will be voting against Trump, I think in the upcoming election, in the House elections and the president in the 2020 elections, are going to be the group that are graduating college right around now through 2021. I think I think they're going to play a huge role. It's funny, if you look at Barack Obama's tweets, a huge amount of the people who are retweeting him, liking him, and commenting him are the age group. Let me think. They're graduating college around 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, these are people that don't even remember him being elected, probably.
Yeah, these are people who just miss Obama because they've seen what not having Obama as president was.
That's the only president they really remember.
The only president they remember is Obama, or at least remember from a standpoint where they actually had an interest in politics to a certain degree. And now they see Trump coming in, and they're like, crap, what happened to America? And I think that's going to be a huge influx for blue votes in the upcoming elections, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and Obama's going to play a huge role, I think, in the election, both in 2018 and in 2020.
It'll be interesting to see if he endorses a lot of the congressional candidates. Do you think he will? And how do you think he's going to pick and choose this?
I think he will. I think maybe he'll choose the seats that are most important. He feels are most important are the closest races.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think he could use Twitter to a large degree to help endorse these candidates too. Just help him get a following.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Obama's tweets get way more interaction than Trump's.
Well, that's because they're real people, or not Russian bots.
Let's see, any more questions here? Do your sources know how many of Trump's top staffers have been without security clearances while handling secret documents? How many have been refused security clearance for their level of secure intelligence exposure? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, we don't have any White House sources, so our guess is as good as yours. I'm sure there's some research that could be done about that, but we don't know it offhand.
Yeah, but the White House did, I think, suspend temporary security credentials from, I guess, after the Rob Portman thing. So they're not issuing anymore at this time. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to start issuing clearances again in the future.
Well, speaking of which, Rob Porter, you bring up, yesterday in the Senate Intel Committee meeting with the Intel agencies, Christopher Wray was asked about the information he gave the White House in relation to Rob Porter, and he basically confirmed that he actually gave them information related to Porter's domestic allegations on several occasions. He didn't specifically say that, but he said they investigated and gave the White House information. They came back, gave them more information. They came back, gave them more information. They closed it out, which basically says that the White House knew everything about Rob Porter. And meanwhile, Sarah Sanders is lying and saying that they didn't.
And then did you see Sarah Sanders yesterday? Yesterday, after this information came out, Sarah Sanders said that yes, that's true. The FBI did provide the White House with such information on several occurrences, but it was a part of the White House that didn't relay that information to the president. So now they're blaming. First they blamed the FBI, then now they're blaming a section of the White House that didn't tell them. So they're not taking
the White House
responsibility.
sounds like it's working like a finely oiled machine. Would you say? Let's see here. Any more comments? What do you guys think cable news has done to the country up through 2016 election and to the present?
I think that cable news is valuable. Definitely, it's just where you're getting your news from.
I feel that people need to watch news from CNN, from MSNBC, from Fox News, so that you can kind of see what everybody else is, what those on the right are saying, and then you can kind of make your own decision. I don't think enough people do that.
Well, yeah, and yes, Fox News is incredibly biased towards the right, but CNN and MSNBC aren't completely neutral either. They go more towards the left, but they're not making conspiracies up. That's the difference. And if you're a viewer of Fox News, you think that Fox News's conspiracies aren't conspiracies. So it's hard to get through to those people.
Yeah, exactly. Why I think those people who watch Fox News on a nightly basis should take a few nights out of the week and watch CNN and MSNBC. And I think those people who watch CNN on a nightly basis should take some time out and watch Fox News once in a while. I think
even if you feel like throwing your fist through the wall.
Yeah, exactly. At least you're seeing all the opinions. And I think that's important because we're being fed information from President Trump, and we know that everything he feeds us isn't true. We know he's lying to us on many occasions, and then there's the right who's saying that CNN's lying to us on many occasions. So I think it's important to read both sides of the story and watch both sides of the story, and then make your own decision. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and there's a difference between Fox News and CNN or MSNBC in that they push these conspiracy theories. Whether it's Hannity, which you can't say is news, it's more like a talk show. They push these theories and then they're proven wrong, and they don't backpedal. They just go move on to the next conspiracy. Where CNN, if they report on something, they find out that it's not true, they immediately come forward and report that they got it incorrect.
According to Sean Hannity, Seth Rich was killed by Hillary Clinton. Still, and there's the pizza parlor in New York was being used as a child porn sex ring.
And it's really amazing that Obama escaped the presidency as intact as he did, given that Fox News was making conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory up nonstop. And the only reason he did is because more people in America actually think for themselves instead of allow Fox News to think for them. I mean, I wish that a news organization could think for me. Think about how easy life would be.
Yeah, that's very true. Somebody asked how old we are, and we're 36. We're both 36 years old.
He's 20 seconds older, though.
Yes, I'm the older brother. Here's a question from Chad D. Johnson on Twitter using hashtag Krassenstein Live. I'd like to know how much Putin oligarch money is tied up by U.S. court cases and ongoing investigations. Their motives for helping to cripple the FBI must be mostly financial, greedy like our autocracy. I had trouble with that word. How much we'd all like to know that. It's something where I don't know we'll ever find out.
Yeah, we don't really have information that you all don't have access to. Most of our information is coming from reading news articles and watching the news, and we have some people that we talk to privately on Twitter, but other than that, it's not. We're just reporting what's out there
and talking about it and giving our opinions and our insight.
Yeah, somebody said Fox News has the most viewers by far. And yeah, that's true. But still,
at the same time, there's several left-leaning, neutral news agencies where Fox News is really the only right-leaning cable news station.
Yeah, I mean, if you want conspiracy theories, you turn on Fox. If you want news, you turn on the next five. Next five channels.
Well, that's not always the case. No. Shep Smith on Fox News is a good guy.
Yeah,
I think he tells the truth, and I think he has the right motives.
There's good people who work for Fox. There's smart people who work for Fox, but some of them should probably reconsider who they're working for. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, you have a job and you can't find another job. You're going to keep your job at Fox News and do what they want you to. It's just human reality, I think. Dougie Fresh asks, can you guys talk about your Carter Page theory?
We've talked about it several times now.
Dougie, you could actually watch our previous two videos, and we talk about it a lot in there. I think that's. I don't think we're really going to discuss it much more. It's just something. It's a theory that could be true or could not be, and we're not going to lean one way or another. It's just something we put out there.
Yeah. Here's a breaking tweet by Donald Trump. My prayers and condolences to the families of the victims of the terrible Florida shooting. No child, teacher, or anyone else should ever feel unsafe in an American school. I totally agree, but once again, prayers and condolences aren't going to stop the next shooting.
How about gun regulations in line with the Second Amendment?
How about sensible legislation?
How come Congress isn't even talking about this? Why isn't Congress talking about gun control? There's not even a mention about this, or there's not even a mention that Congress needs to talk about gun control.
Nope.
And it's sad. It's going to keep happening. Praying for it to stop is not going to work. People have been praying for decades for it to stop, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Have you?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, there's a shooting in Parkland, Florida, Broward County, Florida. It's at a Florida high school.
Wow, 20 to 50 victims, mass casualties with between 20 to 50 victims.
Wow.
Dr. Dina Grayson just reported that.
Wow,
if that's true, that's really a shame. And
these are kids, it's sad.
And all we'll hear for the next several days is thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, Congress needs to act. It's like even the Democrats in Congress need to step up and say we need to discuss gun control. We need to discuss ways to prevent this from happening. It needs to be done. Anybody who says that nothing needs to be done or no change needs to be done, you're stupid. Yeah, it's not going to stop unless something's changed. We don't have to cross out the Second Amendment to do it either. That's what frustrates me.
It doesn't have to be a political thing. It's just sensible. Just come to a sensible conclusion of what we can do to prevent this from happening again. It's just going to keep happening and happening and happening, and you're just ignoring it.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It really is. It's it's sad.
Just another reason to vote in 2018, because if you have Democrats in the Congress and the Congress and the Senate, in the House and the Senate, you're probably going to have gun legislation. And not we're not going to ban all guns. Obama didn't ban any guns.
I hate how the right keeps saying, no, we don't need gun control. That's anti-Second Amendment. That's not true. It's not anti-Second Amendment to have gun control. It's anti-Second Amendment to say nobody can own any type of gun. There's rules we can set. There's rules that can be put in place to prevent things like this from happening. It's guns are killing people.
Yeah.
Guns. It's people are killing people with guns, but without those guns, without these assault weapons, there would be a lot less people dead. That's fact.
14 dead confirmed deaths right now, and that number's almost certainly going to go up. There's 40 to 50 people who have been shot. The last I heard was that the gunman is still at large. So it doesn't look good, and it's just going to keep happening. And the president's so concerned over immigrants and the gangs of immigrants who are barely committing any crime. But meanwhile, 14 kids just died, and he's not going to do anything about it. He's just going to issue thoughts and prayers.
Something needs to be done. Congress needs to do something. The president needs to do something. It's sickening. I can't imagine when my kids are old enough to go to school. It's frightening. It's scary. I don't even want to think about it. Let's see here.
Well, and here's another thing. I've heard several Republicans say that they believe that they should start arming teachers. That's not the solution. So there's more guns available to students in the school. If somebody goes into the teacher's desk, pulls it out, and
that opens up a whole nother can of worms, and it's not something I don't think that's a solution to things.
Here's another breaking tweet by Donald Trump. Just spoke to Governor Rick Scott. We are working closely with law enforcement on the terrible Florida school shooting. How about work closely with legislators?
Yeah, work closely with Congress to figure out a solution. It's like, this keeps happening. Why aren't we trying to fix it? it's like you're so focused on immigration and a wall on the Mexican border. You can save more lives by coming up with sensible gun legislation. Just it's all political. The NRA has money in Trump's pockets, and most of the Republicans' pockets. It's I don't know. I think I'm done here. I don't think I can do this much longer.
Yeah, we'll close this out right now. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And we'll probably have another live broadcast maybe next week. Hopefully, situation in Florida turns out.
Our thoughts are with those in Florida. It's devastating.
It's already gonna be bad, but hopefully no more casualties, no more deaths are reported. But it's not looking good.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. We'll have another one of these in the near future. Thank you.